This is Deep Dive into Joy, and I'm your host, Gina Rickner. Hey, Joy listeners, it's your host, Gina. Welcome to Deep Dive into Joy, the podcast where we dive into real stories of purpose, passion, and joy. Today's episode is all about stepping out in faith, taking bold action, and finding joy in the process. Starting something new can feel exciting and terrifying all at once. But what happens when you feel deeply called to build something that helps others live more intentionally? Today, I'm sitting down with a good friend, Jason Gallaher, who recently launched his own life coaching business. We're going to talk about how he knew it was time, what the journey looked like, and how joy shows up even in the hard parts. So, Jason, I'd like to start out with just a fun question. What is your favorite drink?
My favorite drink? As you know, I'm retired from
alcohol.
My favorite drink is Monster Ultra Paradise. If I'm being
Come
honest.
on.
Yeah.
That is horrible for you.
It's bad for you, but I will say I love Spindrift. I don't know if you've had that. My favorite flavors are the blood orange and it's like a lime mint. It's like a mojito version.
Oh, I haven't had those. We have pink lemonade and lemon.
Yeah, you should try them. They're both really good.
Okay, so let's dive in. Jason, I know you because you are best friends with my husband. You are now a good family friend. You live in Colorado and just recently got into life coaching. I'm glad I get to sit down with you during this small window of time because you usually only come home once a year, which is unfortunate for us. Let me just say that you're an amazing friend to my husband, and I'm jealous that you guys take guide trips every year. But welcome to the show, Jason. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, let's start at the beginning. You just launched your life coaching business last year. That's a big move. Can you walk us through what led you to the decision and tell us a little bit about your business and what life coaching is?
Yes. So my business, I named it On the Beam, and there's some reasons for that I'll probably get into later, but this was a deeply personal and purposeful decision for me. It's something I've always wanted to do. I'm very passionate about helping people, helping them overcome their limiting beliefs, and really removing those invisible barriers that keep people from living the life they truly want. And throughout my life, I've been personally impacted by several coaches, counselors, mentors that have really helped me see those limiting beliefs and then become accountable and challenge me to those thoughts that really hold us all back. So coaching helps drive individuals to really reach their full potential, right? And so a lot of what we're doing is just to overcome obstacles, take action towards their true passions, whether that's career stuff. A lot of it's career stuff. It could be health, could be relationships. And for the coaching world, a lot of it revolves around people that are already successful. They may have like external or material success, but they have deep passions, things that they're really wanting to achieve, that they just need that extra nudge or accountability to help them get over the hump. So my business is really built on the belief that we all have inside ourselves a lot of things we know are already the answers, and I'm just really trying to tease those out from the individuals through asking probing questions and really getting to know them and trying to tap into the own insights that we all have for ourselves. And then, I've been certified and thankfully learned a lot of tools and skills to help me bring clients along on that journey so they can really unlock their full potential.
Okay, how do you think God led you to make this leap?
Yeah, looking back, I think every step I've taken in the last 10 years or so have really led me to this place I am now. As I mentioned, I'm in recovery. I'm an alcoholic. I've been sober for a few years now, and that's a very deep personal journey for a lot of folks that deal with like chemical use and substance abuse. And it wasn't just reclaiming my life by overcoming alcohol. It was really seeing the community that's available through a lot of the programs like AA and 12-step and things that are out there, support groups that really urge people to be themselves, to open up the possibilities within them to do something different. And coaching is along that same vein of, just allowing people to be who they are, be the person that God created. And I'll probably go back and forth between saying God and higher power because that's a pretty common thing within the program of AA. So
Yeah.
I use higher power a lot as well. But I do call my higher power God. So we'll see how often I said. But I've also always had like a strong intuition, I think, and ability to read people and recognize what people need and help them articulate themselves. And I think that's something that God has always, that God put in my life and has allowed me to connect with people on that deep level. And it's just been something that I feel is thankfully an inherent gift from my higher power, from God, that I create a trusting environment with people. I create space, and that's really key in the coaching world because then it allows people to really tap into themselves and then be free with what they're really looking for in their life and the things that are holding them back from truly getting there.
Okay, let's talk about the beginning stages of business. What's it been like building it from the ground up?
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. Challenging, rewarding, as I said before, deeply personal. I looked at different things that I thought I wanted to do. I actually went back to school for a little bit to think about being a licensed therapist, a counselor, because again, like I've been very strongly, positively impacted by counselors I've had in the past, but it just felt like coaching was a better fit for me. And the coaching community itself is like, it's one of the most supportive, tight-knit groups there is. It's very similar to recovery, I think, and there's a lot of strength and encouragement and genuine care for people. And really helping people, for me, helps me myself, break free from some of my limiting beliefs and find fulfillment. So starting the business, like, I knew I wanted to do something like that to supplement my day-to-day job. And again, really, I see this as more of a calling than like a job or career that I've always been in. And part of that journey is establishing what that looks like for me. And if I'm being honest, I'm still new to this. I've been coaching for 3 or 4 years formally. I've had the business for about a year, and that is still establishing itself with regard to the clients that I take on and where I position myself to be most successful and where I position myself to be most helpful.
That's how I felt with this podcast. It's more like a calling.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Than
it's
a
challenging.
job.
I mean, doing something new is scary. It's really scary. There's a lot of thoughts of, imposter syndrome and just why would anyone believe me or trust me or, and getting over those things are really what allows us to reach our full potential. And again, that's what a lot of the coaching world is trying to encourage, is for people to see those things for what they are, which are usually manufactured stories and lies that we tell ourselves that just hold us back.
Yeah. What kind of people are you working with, and what is your approach to coaching?
Yeah, I work with people from all walks of life. Most of my clients so far have been navigating significant life transitions, from career growth, like either stepping out of the career they're in and trying to explore something totally new to them, or they may be tasked with, they were an individual contributor and now they're a people leader. And so a lot of it is around the career development space, but there's also a lot in the other life transitions. If you think about people that are close to retirement, I've had a lot of clients that are very close to retirement age and really are trying to find themselves again, like establish an identity outside of work and family. A lot of people get to a point where they're 50, 55 years old. Retirement's very close for them. and they realize that their life and identity has been very much committed to a job, a role they play in that job and in their family life, and they've really lost the desire or passion for things they used to love, anything from reading to physical activity or whatever. So it's usually in that space. I've also recently been asked to join a program, a company called Gnosis Health, which specializes in recovery, the recovery space for coaching. So they have a collaborative care approach where they offer medical therapy and coaching services for people that are struggling with alcohol or other substances. And so I don't bring that in like intentionally. If you'll go to my website, you'll see I don't really talk about my recovery journey at all. And it's not because I'm not proud of it, or it's just I'm not intentionally trying to attract those types of clients, but it allows me to relate to those clients. And really, I think everyone has someone in their life that's struggled with recovery, or, it doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol either. We are, as a society, very dependent on lots of things to change the way we feel. And that could be from, doom scrolling on Reddit to just gambling, just watching mindless reality TV, and some of that stuff.
Can you help my husband get off his phone?
yeah, I spend too much time on my phone too. I think we all do that.
He's probably talking to you.
Not always. No, I don't think so. Yeah, so there's a lot of things, and I think it just gets back to, for the most part, the clients come for one reason, which is almost always like a career thing, and that's easier for them to come with, I think, because it's like more acceptable in a way. Or, there's some instances where their company will pay for it or whatever. But once you start to do the intake, and once you start to have a serious, like a chemistry conversation, or like a conversation about what their life areas are that they'd like to improve, it's almost always something else. It's like they would like to have a better relationship with their daughter, or again, they would like to be more active, or they would like to give up being on their phone 6 hours a day. So you start to explore different areas within that space that could be career oriented, but also it's just going to improve their lives altogether, and their quality of life will improve, and then it'll transition and spill over into the other areas, including career.
I want to talk about joy for a minute. With all the hustle, the unknowns, and the hard work, how do you personally find joy in life?
Joy, in the context of coaching, it's, I think, really seeing people grow and develop is super powerful. And I get to do that in my day-to-day job too. I lead a group, and I just have a lot of opportunities also within my peer group that I can see them change and like transform over time. That's super powerful to me. It's one of the things that I enjoy the most. I try to do a lot of service work as well in the community in general. And honestly, sometimes I do it with some selfish intent of, when you're really tapped into, focused on someone else, or in deep presence with someone else, or in a environment like a volunteer opportunity, like I'm not thinking about myself. And there's a lot of joy in that, if I'm being honest, because it's like, our mind is tricky, and it tells us we need to be doing something, or we should be doing this, or we should be more than we are. And like, for me, the action is important. So there's joy in action. There's joy in seeing people grow and develop. There's joy in simple things too. I think I have a tendency, and this is not uncommon for most people, to make things very complex, to overthink situations, to really get bogged down in decisions. Like the example I give a lot of times with clients is like, you'll go to the grocery store, for instance, or like a Walmart, and you'll go down the toothpaste aisle, and there's literally like 400 different types of toothpaste, and like that's overwhelming for most people. But that is kind of the environment we live in nowadays, and everyone's super worried about making a bad decision. Even in picking out the toothpaste, like which one should I get? And I think we do that a lot in our mind with from small decisions to big decisions, and so there's joy in simplicity as well.
What about hiking? You still like to do that?
I do. I
Yeah.
do. I still like to do a lot of hiking. I think nature also is pretty important. It's very right sizing for me to be out in, especially in the backcountry, when you go into a place like hike a few miles in and no longer service, you don't really see anybody, and you're there, you're by yourself, and then you just see how vast the world is, and just really makes you think about, like, I'm just a very, very, very tiny piece of this huge earth, and all the things that are happening in it, and really, we don't have a lot of control over anything either, and like that can be scary for people. I know people like control and certainty. I do too. But to be in that space, I think is important for us to realize, like, there's so many things that are out of our control, and that's where faith comes in, right? It's like having faith that there is a God, there is a higher power that's guiding and protecting and directing us, and if we continue to take the action we need to, we'll be taken care of.
Yeah. I always hated the outdoors, but that's where I'm finding my joy these days. It's in nature.
Yes.
So it's been really healing.
There's a lot to be found there. I think just the simplicity too of the fact that the sun comes up every day, right? And it may be a different way that it comes up, but it does come up every day. And having faith in something as simple as that is, I think, very powerful. It's a good reminder.
Have there been any unexpected sources of joy since starting this journey?
Yes, I would say that the impact that you can have on another individual, like, I've always known that, especially being part of the recovery community. You see that all the time. Like, I'm very close with folks that I'll run into at a meeting or something, and see them now. They're like 6 years sober or whatever. But the reach outs I get from former clients has been really powerful. I had a guy that I worked with for a while, about 6 or 8 months probably, and he was going through some family divorce type stuff, but there was one thing he always wanted to do, which was like to post on YouTube, and he finally did, like 6 months after we were done with our arrangement. But yeah, it's cool that he sent me that, and that I still get a lot of emails or texts from former clients that say, "Hey, I applied for that job," and it's just powerful. It lets you know that that you made an impact in their life, and I know that they're attempting to make that same type of impact in other people's lives, and that's the ripple effect that I think we all have an opportunity to create with what we do, and just again, good intentions, trying to do what you're doing, which is like bring joy and faith to other people, so that they can see that we all have things we're going through, but if we can help each other, like, that's how you get through them.
How has your faith shaped the way that you run your business?
Yeah, faith, it underlines everything I do, if I allow it to, I would say.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that God has a plan for us, that the timing is also up to Him, and up to that process. As I said, like, we always talk about in recovery, taking the action and leaving the results up to God. And so coaching has taught me to be patient, and to surrender to results, and to not get too overwhelmed or in my head about where it needs to be, or how it should look, or how much money I'm making, or even providing value. That's something they talk about a lot in the certification program I went through. It's like, if you get too wrapped up in your head about, am I providing value for this person, for the client, for whoever you're working with, like, that really starts to sabotage your ability to be aware, to be present, to be intuitive when you're in the coaching session. Because then it's all about you, and you're too worried about, like, is this person thinking I'm doing a good job, and really get wrapped up into self. So I think, again, going back to the faith piece, it's like just knowing that it's my job to take the action, leave the results up to God. And every client I work with there's a greater plan for them, right? And like, I'm just a small piece of that plan. I'm like one stop on the journey to their transformation or fulfillment or whatever they're working towards. And I try to be as impactful as I can, but also not put too much pressure on myself, and realize that I'm not God. Like I'm not. There's nothing I can do that's going to be super powerful for them outside of what's already in them that I'm again trying to just like pull out, tease out, help them get to that answer that I think is already inside of most people.
Yeah, you spoke to me because I have to watch. I mean, obviously I just started out. I don't have that many numbers anyways, but I had to watch getting myself wrapped up into looking at like how many downloads and stuff because this isn't for me. I said if I can reach just one person through any of the episodes, then it was worth my time. So.
And honestly, like there's an element I think that's okay with it is for you in the sense of like this is part of your healing process too. Right?
Yeah, so
like,
yeah.
So it's like
listening to everybody else's healing for me and writing. Correct. I love writing.
Yeah, and the coaching is the same thing. It's like I'm not trying to get rich off of this. There's nothing about that is enticing to me or appealing to me. It is another way to help people, and if I can generate some income as part of that, like that's what I'm open to. And it would be ideal if I'd be lying if I didn't say like it'd be ideal if I could do this at some point full time, and that would be my life because I think it is more of a calling than my day to day. But at the same time, I'm just having fun now, being that space and being that listening ear for someone else, and using the gifts that God provided to me of just like helping them along, because I have a lot of experience to share too, and I think that's the beauty of you and your experience. It's like once you have that experience, you can relate to someone, a different person. It's kind of like we talked before we started. Until you've been through what you've been through or what I've been through, it's really hard to relate at that level. But you can relate in a similar way with someone that's struggling in a different type of space, and that's healing for both parties.
Yeah, I think, God gives us those trials sometimes so that we can walk alongside someone else that's going through the same thing.
Yeah, no doubt.
Have you had any moments where you thought, yes, this is exactly what I'm meant to do? I know you said it was your calling, so.
Yes, I have. I've had other moments with lots of things, though. I think it's like, I do feel very strongly that I have certain skills that are inherent or developed that allow me to be a good coach. Honestly, I think, even being in Pennsylvania and being flooded with like old memories of being young and stuff, I think a lot of that developed from growing up and being bullied, and also like the role I played within my family dynamic, and like seeing how those things play out, how I have been very intuitive and very calming. Like I've had to adapt, I think, to environments and things as I was put into. And they will tell you all the time, there's tons of research to say like that those strengths that we usually continue to lean on and as we grow and get into roles within careers and things like that are things that are developed oftentimes as, I don't want to say coping mechanisms, but ways that we essentially allow ourselves to be safe, to provide safety for ourselves or to adapt to our environment. And yeah, I just feel like that's something that's been there, and I'm glad that I've went through. It's also part of the experience process, right? It's like those things have allowed me to be the person I am today.
Yeah, it's something I learned about you. I didn't know you were bullied. I'm assuming that was in.
Yeah, everyone's bullied, though.
Yeah, true.
It just depends. And,
what form?
Yeah, and because of that experience, I could be a chameleon, and I then was like, I could fit into any peer group I needed to. So I had my good friends, and Mark's one of my good friends today. But I could relate to the jocks, or I could, I could fit into all those groups because I knew how to navigate that world, right? And again, like that served me well in business and things. Like I can see where people are going. I can intuitively understand what's going on in a situation, and that's even more easy to do and more powerful when you're with one-to-one with a client, because then you can like really see their body language and anticipate things that I think I've just been natural at doing because of those past experiences.
Explain to everyone, I guess I didn't know you were still at your current job, but
yeah,
what are you doing at your current job? And I mean, I guess you didn't leave that life behind because you're still doing it, but explain what you're doing alongside life coaching.
I have not left that life behind. So I am an educated food scientist. So for those that may not know, that what that is pretty much anything that you see on a grocery store shelf or maybe in a restaurant. Those are typically designed by a research and development person or a culinary person. My discipline is more on the research side, and it's anything from the food safety of that product to the recipe. It's I always explain it as like, everyone's seen how it's made, I think, where they go and they take you to, like, say, a Coke bottling facility or something like that. It's that part of the business of food manufacturing. And so today I work for a food manufacturer, a large global cheese manufacturer, and I work on the nutrition side. So that's with whey protein and lactose. And lactose is used in infant formula. And how that relates to coaching is, for the past 15 years or so, I've always led and ran product development teams. So I lead a team right now of application scientists and technical sellers. And I have the opportunity to coach them and grow and develop that team. And that's my day-to-day. But I also have an opportunity to have one-to-ones with lots of peers and mentors, both formally and informally, within that space. And there's lots of... You'd be surprised at how many people are crying out for someone to just, like, see and hear them. And it's pretty cool. I get to do a lot of that and get to do some informal coaching. I get to practice a lot in that job.
I don't want to sound stupid or ignorant or, like, come political, but is the MAHA movement gonna, like, change the way that you guys do stuff? With, like,
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
Make America Healthy Again?
Oh.
So, like, removing the debt. I mean, you probably don't have...
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
I mean, that's just my own personal question.
What
I'm
do,
curious.
I mean, we're pretty... Like, again, the company I work for makes cheese and nutrition products. So, the interesting thing about food science, and I'll try to keep this short, is the whole profession developed out of the need for basically the world, or at least the United States, to kind of create more than localized regional opportunities for food. And a lot of that came after the Second World War and things like that, and to have things that are cheaper and more food safe and regulated and all that kind of stuff. But it is certainly, like anything that makes money, has been corrupted in a way, to a point where, there is a portion of, say, like a food scientist at Kraft Heinz or something, who is specifically looking at how they can make foods more craveable, easier to eat. Like, that's where the whole ultra processed thing comes in. It's like, if you can make things easy to eat, which chips and, like, all that stuff are way easier to consume a lot of quickly without your body telling you, oh, you're full, versus an apple or something like that. And so I do think it could change how things are looked at, and it probably for the better. And I think this generation now, the younger generation, is looking for cleaner food, more regionalized options. They want to go to farmers markets and things like that. And so it is going to shift, I think, back to less ingredients, less preservatives, like all the stuff that has been historically used to either keep food cheap or extend the food supply. And the trouble with that is, for people like us that I think, are more financially secure, we can afford that stuff. But there's also a piece of, some of those things are done to keep food cheap for folks so they can actually afford it. But again, it does impact their ability to buy stuff that's not just calorie dense, but is also healthy for them. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think it's ready for a change.
Yeah, I hope so. Where do you want to be 1 year from now, personally, professionally, spiritually? Any of those?
1 year from now, I don't expect to be in a much different place. I say that, and then I realize, like, I constantly have these moments where I feel way different than I did a couple years ago, or certainly 10 years ago. So I think it's just like having deeper relationships with God, with friends and family, people that are important in my life. I'm not as eager to leave the day-to-day as I was in the past. It provides a good experience within that environment for me to continue to develop skills and lead people and make an impact every day. It pays my bills. It's important to me, honestly. Like, I've learned more and more about how I need a routine. I need that social connection that work offers. I'm a single guy. Like, I live alone, so working from home, like, that doesn't allow me to set good boundaries with things I need to do, or to really have the social connection I need to. And there's a lot there that's important to me. So I am not eager to leave that job, but I am eager to explore what On the Beam can do, what this Gnosis health opportunity that I'm engaged in will provide for that as well. And again, just the rest of it, I think it's kind of up to God. I hope that I can continue to take good action with positive intentions, and just continue to live out what I think is turning into a pretty fulfilling life. The more and more I look back at where I was even 5 years ago, it's really transitioned very positively for me in many life areas.
Yeah. Where do you, or I guess, what's a truth that you need to start believing about yourself?
That I'm worthy. I think there's I talk about core fears when I work with clients. There's a lot of things we have, and my core fears are, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy.
So untrue.
Yeah, I know, but those are.
I know.
I mean, those are.
I say the same thing.
That I'm not good enough, right? And so, there's just these things, and unless I'm aware of those core fears, like, I can't counter them with the love I need to give myself, or to receive from other people or my higher power, to really not fall into that trap. And so I do fall into that trap from time to time. Like, there is a legit fear of success or fear of failure that comes with a lot of things for me. Like, if I get too close to goals, like weight loss goals or even coaching goals, like, I will see myself probably weeks after the fact, like, unconsciously self-sabotaging those things, because I want to pull back into comfort. I want to pull back into what feels safe. Like, a lot of people do that. Putting yourselves out there, being vulnerable, doing big stuff, like, it's hard to do. And I find that I struggle with that too. And I do have, I'll give you an example, a real life example. I was fortunate enough, honored to win a couple awards at work last year, my day-to-day job. One was a team award, one was a leadership award, and another award. And as people were congratulating and telling me that they voted for me or recommended me at the ceremony after I received the award, my mind was like, you're lying to me. That's not true. Like, I instantly wanted to not believe that. It's weird how powerful those messages are that we carry with us. And like I said, I think a lot of mine came from, how I grew up and some of the things that went along with those experiences in school, mostly. And, just overcoming those things is what I'll probably be working on for the rest of my life, but also puts me in a unique place. As we talked about, that experience will help me help others, because I think we all feel a lot of those things at times, like we're not worthy of the things that have been given to us, or we're not good enough, or we're not loved. And just being able to give that to someone else, like, recognize them, see and hear them as their authentic selves, is a powerful thing. And that's something that I will always be working on. That's why also, like, I still work with coaches, I still work with a counselor, I still have mentors. That's important to me, for them to be able to call me on my own BS, so that I can live into that full version of myself. Because it's easy to talk yourself out of, oh wow, must be like, people must really see what I don't always see, and I should embrace that and not question it. But there's a lot of questions that come up, I think, with success.
So you almost sound like, did you ever listen to the Bobby Bones show?
No, I have
I listen to it every day while I work, but he has a book out. It's called Fight, Grind, Repeat. And he said, like, your award thing, he kind of does the same things. Like, he doesn't feel like he's worthy enough of those. But, like, even if he wins an award, he doesn't even take the time to, like, appreciate that moment. He's already on to, like, the next 2 steps ahead of that moment. And, like, he's always talking about how he needs to take a step back and really enjoy and embrace that moment for a minute instead of just moving past it. That's hard.
Good advice. After I won those awards, and like I said, I questioned things, but I also fell into like this trap for a few months of I have to be different now. Like, now people are going to look at me differently, so I have to be different. Like, which is I didn't set out to win those awards. Didn't even know I was getting them. And the only reason I got them was because I was like, I really was living into my authentic self. And part of that was from going through the coaching certification and like just approaching life and my day to day in a different way. And the whole reason I was recognized is because I was being more myself and I was leading with heart. And then as soon as I got the awards, my mind instantly was like, oh, you have to be different now. Like, people are going to expect something from you that's different. That's the challenge that the mind will play, is like to tell you that no matter what it is, it's not good enough or it's not right.
It's crazy what your mind does.
Yeah. I mean, those are the things we're battling all the time.
So we kind of already went over like what brings you joy in everyday life. So how do you recharge your energy when you're drained?
Different things. I am very introverted for the most part. And so I definitely get my fill of people at certain times. So recharging could look like me I love to go to the movies just by myself. I love the rituals of like popcorn and soda and like sitting there and putting the phone away and just really being present and engaged in a story. I love that. And I can do that with some other things. Like, I'll do that with Seinfeld. I will do that with like a game like SimCity Build It. Like, I play that a lot. So there's moments where I just need to completely turn my brain off and focus on something else, and that's recharging. But there's also a recharge that comes from getting out in nature too. Like, physical activity is very helpful for me to do something hard. Not too hard, but hard enough that I feel it. And I have been blessed to find a couple good friends in Denver that are also aligned with my energy. And so we can go and hike and we can talk or we can not talk. We can just like be there together, walking that same trail. And there's no obligation that either of us feel to like engage in conversation. And that's powerful too, because it's like you're not there alone, but you're also not forcing a conversation and you're getting some exercise. And those are the things I usually do. It's like I really just kind of shut myself down or go do something that really forces me to focus and be lost and not stuck in my mind. Or again, like there's times too when I can recharge around other people, as long as it's not, I can be myself. Like, it's really about being my authentic self and just being able to sit in the same room with someone, but not feel like you have to be talking about something.
Yeah, like you don't have to perform.
Yeah, exactly. Perform's a great way to explain it.
Yeah, that's how I felt in my journey. It's like I didn't really feel like talking in the beginning because it was so dark, and at the same time I didn't want to be alone in my thoughts because they were dark at the same time. It was nice having those friendships and that family that would just come sit with you, and I didn't have to be alone, but I didn't have to perform or talk. Yeah. So that was nice.
Yeah, those are our people for sure. The people that we can really, really be ourselves around. You know, we wear a lot of masks, and I read a quote the other day. It's something about like we spend all of our time basically reinforcing that our masks are on straight. Like, I think it was a Ram Dass quote, something, I'm paraphrasing obviously, but you know, and I think that's what we do as people a lot, is like we just reinforce those things that we want to project to the world, and hardly ever do we actually allow our authentic, vulnerable selves to be seen and heard. And when you're going through something like you went through, or again, part of the recovery community has been powerful for me. It's like you already have this unwritten code of like what's happened and what's similar amongst you, and so you don't have to try to be something you're not, and that's super powerful because it takes a lot of energy to not be yourself. Like the amount of energy that's wasted trying to be someone else or trying to hit a moving target of what you think someone wants you to be or how they want you to be, man, that's exhausting. And that's why a lot of people come home from work most days and like are completely exhausted and go to booze or go to something that's numbing and distracting is because they've spent all day not being themselves, and so they're completely spent.
Yeah, that's sad. What boundaries do you set to protect your peace?
A boundary I've gotten more and more comfortable with.
It's hard setting boundaries.
It's hard setting boundaries. The last year or two is like I don't have to like everybody, and they don't have to like me, and I don't have to be. I don't have to always be nice or accommodating, and I can still be a good person. And I think just there's people that honestly their energy is just not for me. Like I recognize that, and as I said, like I waste more energy being around them. And there's some people in my family and some good friends that are like that, and I still love them, and I will spend time with them, but it's different, and I'll protect myself, and I will allow myself to take the space I need, because otherwise I get frustrated and upset and resentful, and it's okay to like I have a peer group that there's just a couple people that we were all kind of close, and now we're kind of splintered. It's not Mark's group.
Okay.
That's a different group. But
I don't think so.
and it's like it's okay. Like there's part of me that feels guilt around that, right? Like there's some guilt there about like, oh, like you're a good guy, like you should embrace everyone. Like that's part of what you're saying, that we should all love each other and all. And I don't disagree with that, but there's also a place where it's okay to set a boundary because like I need to protect myself and my energy and like where I'm at, and not everyone's for everyone, and that's okay. And this whole concept of detaching with love is like super important. It's super important in the recovery space, I think, because there's lots of programs that are for the family members and loved ones that are dealing with the alcoholic or someone that's going through substance abuse. It's like that ruins people's lives, and if you're the person doing the ruining, you don't really see it. And it's extremely hard to set boundaries and not enable and not love people to death, and it's also, again, just like hard for me to say to myself, like, it's okay to protect my space. It's okay to set a boundary of just like, hey, this person's not really for me. Like I've grown out of this person's life, or they've grown out of mine. And, if there's an opportunity for me to see them, cool, but I'm not going to go out of my way to maintain a relationship that's not, doesn't feel good for me. Like right. The other relationships I have in my life, I'm just more choosy with who I allow myself to be exposed to and the things that I allow to take on.
Yeah. I mean, even Jesus set boundaries. He walked away from people when he was here on this earth. He's like, no, if it's not part of his mission. And he tells us, we can forgive and forget these people where they don't have to remain in our lives. So.
Yeah, no doubt.
What is something small that always makes you smile?
Candid moments of just like real presence or authenticity. Could be like I love to do this at the airport. I like the people watch in general, so that's not the same thing, but it's very similar. But when like someone steals a kiss, or like you see kids, because I'm not a father, so I don't have the opportunity to see that joy and wonder of just the curiosity that kids have and the imagination and stuff they have. So when you see kids seeing things for the first time, like an airplane or just, the vastness of an airport or something, like, again, like I love that stuff. It reminds me so much of just how I'm numb to a lot of the things that are going around me all the time. And the big part of the whole coaching philosophy is just to get curious and stay curious. And I try to live that way, and it's hard because I think, again, like we get sucked into our own head and that kind of stuff. But what I see unconsciously bringing a smile to my face is those types of things where I see like a moment like that, just a pure moment. Like my cats too, or just animals in general, where you see them do weird things or different things, and it's just like it's pure, and that's super cool.
Let's see. How do you handle disappointments or setbacks?
One of the things that's been working for me lately is just to continue to realize that all things are temporary, for the most part. The only things that aren't are obviously health situations and death a lot of times. But like, just to realize maybe this isn't the moment. Like, again, lean into that faith, into God's plan, God's time. Like, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. And I think about that a lot of, like, I didn't picture my life as a 45-year-old person, like, as it exists today. Like, I thought for sure I'd have a family or whatever. And, like, that hasn't happened for me. And I don't regret any of that or get resentful about it. It's like, maybe it will still happen. I mean, it's like, chances are probably not super high for some of that. But at the same time, I can choose to be disappointed, or I can choose to look at it in a different way. And we're almost always in choice. And perspective is such a big part of how we're going to interact and see the world. And I try to have this mindset of impermanence, of things are temporary, this too shall pass, like all those things that are said, and pull myself out of it, because gosh, like I just think about all the things that really bother me, again, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and like those things don't even exist anymore. Like, the companies don't exist, the people aren't in my lives, like the triviality of things that still, I still get worked up about little stuff, and then I think, like, why am I worried about this? Like, why would I be disappointed in this? Like, I don't know what God's plan is for me, and this is maybe not part of the plan. And I'm pleasantly surprised by all the amazing things that have happened in that same way, where if I was controlling it, I couldn't have planned it better than what I have today.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. We get to choose. Like, we get to choose, wake up every day. Like, obviously, if you woke up, you have purpose. He woke you up for a purpose, and we get to choose how we live out that day. So, what is something you're learning about yourself in this season?
When I hear season, I think of these seasons, and it's spring, right? And I think the cool thing, we were talking a little bit about this before. It's like the sun comes up and comes down every day, which is a powerful thing in itself. But to see just how the seasons also are come and go without fail, thankfully, and to see the renewal and how things grow, and everything's super lush and green. My parents were complaining about the fact that it may rain today and stuff, because they're having some people over to say hi to me, and it's just like, yeah, but you got to have that rain to have the green, right? Like, and all that stuff is part of the process. And
I guess I should have been looking at this week like that.
Yeah, it's hard, I think. We want it to be different than it is a lot of times. And because it's not, then we're in pain, right? Like, the pain comes from expectations. And if we have expectations, it needs to be a certain way, then we're going to be disappointed. And, spring is really powerful, because it's like the things just grow. And, just being around the neighborhood and even in my house and looking at the trees, like the side, like how big the trees have grown, like this stuff like that, you're like, wow, like I haven't seen this, in 10 years, and it's different, right? Like, it keeps doing its thing. And the flip side is I mentioned I saw Chad, who's a friend of ours, and it's like, that was probably 20 years. I was thinking, I don't know when the last time I saw him was, but he really didn't look any different.
Yeah,
he didn't really look any different.
Acts the same.
Yeah, I mean, we chatted, and I gave him a couple hugs, and it was just like, also, it's amazing how that seems like a lifetime ago, and in many ways it was, and it's also just today. Like, it's I don't know, time is really weird like that.
It is, because sometimes I feel like I live 10 lives, just because every season's so different, and it's like I think back to college and high school, and it's like oh, those lives are so different compared to now. And it's just like, yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like I've, like a cat, you have none. What are 3 words you want people to use to describe you?
Compassionate, calming. I like to think I have a calming presence, and connecting. I, it, yeah. I've noticed. I think one thing that also has been powerful to notice that I think God has inherently blessed me with is like this ability and opportunity to connect people, to be kind of a good, neutral, indifferent party to a lot of things that allows people to get together and stay together or reconnect. And I'm doing way more of that, like the older I get too, of just like reaching out and trying to be a connecting force to people. Because I think that's powerful. I think a lot of people just struggle with being lonely. I know I did. Like especially when I was drinking every day, it was like part of that was because I was so lonely.
I have a friend that's struggling with that right now.
Yeah,
she had a divorce a while back, and she's like, you don't know how lonely it is to come home to no one every day.
That's powerful, and I think there's tons of research out there now that talks about like loneliness is like more damaging than I think like cigarettes and alcohol and stuff, as far as like life expectancy and stuff. Like people that are legit alone and don't have good, meaningful relationships in their life, and so we all need that. Like I said, I think there's this tendency too for folks to really get sucked into career until they have kids, and then it's like very much career and kids if they have that, and if they don't have kids, they're very much into career, and like there's not a lot of opportunity for anything else. We have lots of time. Like I think if I would talk to anyone of my friends, like they would admit they have lots of time that they waste, quote unquote waste, and we just don't spend a lot of it connecting like we used to. And a lot of those institutions like church or religion or community service or civics or just like coaching a baseball team, like there's a lot of that stuff I think that has kind of disappeared. It may exist here more so I think in rural America than I see it in Denver at times, but yeah, we just I think live a very lonely lifestyle. A lot of people like just very much they go to work, and some people don't even leave the house to go to work anymore, right? Like they just work
that's me.
Home. Yeah,
but I love it.
Yeah, some people love it.
What would you tell someone who wants to reach out to a life coach but is scared to do so or just hesitant?
I would say to do it. Life is short. It's not a scary thing. The intention is to be empowering and accountable. Like the coaching relationship is really to make you the best version of yourself. And as I said, a lot of people already know, if you sit down and think of the 3 main things that are preventing you from getting what you want, most people can think of those things really quick. And so it's more about just establishing a relationship that is empowering and holds some accountability so that you can work towards them and is supportive. I mean, I think, it's another way to build a relationship that's not as intimate as like a partner relationship or a friend relationship where you're afraid you're going to let someone down or maybe reveal something that you think is a silly passion or a silly goal or, like maybe someone's not supportive of your career plans or whatever. It's another way to have someone on your side when you're going through that. And there's no better time than today. One of my favorite quotes is, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. And we spend a lot of time wasting time thinking, planning, overthinking, and then we don't do it. And then we look back and another year's went by. And you're like, we were just talking about time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow, another year's went by?
Crazy.
Yeah.
I tried to quote that verse in an episode and I totally screwed it up. And just because I'm curious, what's it like living in Colorado? Because Mark and I still need to get out there after all these years.
Yeah, Colorado's great. I didn't know what to expect. I heard great things, but I'm very happy with the move there. As you know, I lived in Atlanta for a while. Atlanta was cool, especially for where I was at that time, but this is definitely a better fit for me from an energy, from just an overall environment, access to nature, size of the city. It has everything a big city wants, but it's not huge like Atlanta. And it's super close to activities. Like I camped last weekend, I think it was. A place it's a state park that's less than an hour drive, and it's just gorgeous, beautiful country, and you're out there, and in that place you still had some cell service, which is, if you're looking for that, you can get that too. But yeah, it's a really, really, really amazing place to live, and I would recommend it for most people.
We pause this episode to bring to you Nello. Drink Nello wellness that works like you do. At Drink Nello, they believe wellness should be simple, effective, and actually enjoyable. That's why they created science-backed super powders, powdered by real ingredients and cutting-edge research to support the real you. They are also third-party tested and clinically studied research. Super Focus, dial in without the crash. Super Greens, daily nutrition without the grassy aftertaste. And Super Calm, which is my favorite, stress support that actually works. No guilt, no judgment. No overpriced nonsense. Just clean, functional wellness that fits your life. Like I said, my favorite product is the Super Calm. I love to drink it after a long day of work to de-stress and unwind for bedtime. Lemon lime is my favorite flavor. This drink includes magnesium, ashwagandha, L-theanine, and vitamin D3. It helps manage occasional stress, supports healthy cortisol levels, and promotes quality sleep. Discover relaxation without the drowsiness. You can use my link, drinknello.com/Gina Rickner, that's all capital, or use code Gina Rickner, all capital, for 10% off your order. This link can also be found under highlights and featured on my Facebook and Instagram at gina.rickner, and I will list in the show notes. Drink Nello. Feel good, stay sharp, live well. All right, gal. Questions that I ask all my guests. If you could tell your younger self one thing today, what would that be?
It's okay to be who you are. We talked about that. I spent a lot of my time, and I think that's not unique to me, of trying to fit everyone else's expectations and to avoid criticism, to avoid pain, all the things that come along with not fully embracing who you are, who God wants you to be. And I would just try to really lean heavily into that, because there's nothing more powerful and cool than the uniqueness of each of us. And I think that's something that, I don't know, we all struggle with. It's weird. Yeah, because you stand out, right? Like if you're unique, you stand out, and then like I said, that opens you to bullying or to criticism or.
But that's what we were supposed to be.
I know.
It's crazy.
I know.
How we fall quick to the world.
And I think that's something I'll always be struggling with, because it's like I fall into that pattern of, like I said, I still do it at work. Like I start to think about, like, who does the big boss need me to be today? Who does my boss need me to be today? And so now I'm like chasing. I'm hustling for their worthiness, as Brene Brown would say. It's like I am just, I'm not being myself, and then that's an identity crisis in many ways. Like if you don't really have a formed identity that you're consistent with, that's like based on values and principles and things, it's a struggle. Like there's a lot of pain there.
And this is always a hard one for everyone. What legacy do you want to leave behind? It's a big question.
We talked about this too. I struggle with this because I talk about in my coaching, like, working on building and leaving a legacy, because I think that resonates with people. But I also like struggle with that because I don't know that that's a thing. If I'm being honest, I do believe 100 years from now, no one will even know who either of us are, which
True.
I'm cool with that. So it goes back to, if you could help one person, that helps another person, that helps another person, like that whole ripple effect of, am I doing more good than bad? I was having a text conversation with a friend of like, it is sometimes as simple as good versus evil, and that could just be your intentions, that could be a situation, and where am I casting my vote today? Am I casting my vote for good? Am I putting my thoughts and actions around positive, healthy choices for myself, actions I can take to help someone else. Like, what am I doing to just be a better person and better influence and an instrument for God? Like, they talk about that a lot in AA. It's like, use me as an instrument for God. Let me see and help someone else that's struggling in recovery today or just in general. And that's about as good as you can get, I think, from a legacy standpoint.
And what is your favorite Bible verse that you'd like to leave for my listeners today?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of those, so I
okay. Well, it could be a quote.
Well, I looked one up because I anticipated. So I picked Romans 12:2. It says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." And I really like that because, again, I think it calls to how quickly it is for the material world, for worldly clamors, so to speak, to infiltrate my mind and allow me to think I need to be doing something different than what I'm doing. But there is this regenerative, renewing, transforming process that we can go through all the time of just really being self-aware, looking at doing a nightly inventory kind of check of just like where we're at, like what we did well today, where do we want to improve, just constantly renewing our purpose day in and day out, so that it is more of my individual journey and how I'm interacting with the world and letting the world creep in and disrupt me from what my true intentions are.
All right, let's have a little fun. Let's do some rapid fire. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
I figured. It used to be a night owl, right? In your old days?
Maybe, yeah. That's just because I could drink longer if I was staying up later.
Favorite way to unwind after a long day?
Yeah, it would be Seinfeld. If I just need comfort, I will watch some episodes of Seinfeld or play SimCity. That's definitely. But a lot of, what's better for me, if I'm being honest, is to take a walk, to take a walk outside.
Yeah, I'm Friends. Just because I can watch it, I know the episode. I don't have to think about anything.
Same thing. Seinfeld's the same way.
Yeah.
It's I don't. Yes. There's a lot of comfort in that.
Yes. Go to coffee order.
Americano, tall or big, whatever, the biggest size with cream.
Favorite activity to do in Colorado?
Hiking.
Best concert you ever been to?
Tool.
Have you gone to Red Rocks for a concert?
I have, yeah. Red Rocks is pretty cool.
I want to go there so bad.
You should go there. I just saw Sublime there with the new, his son is their front man now, which is interesting, but
that'd be
awesome.
Did a
great job.
That's one of my dreams, is to go there.
Red Rocks is cool. I've only been there 3 or 4 times and for as long as I lived in Colorado, but it's a really cool venue.
Okay, that was fun. Jason, I want to thank you for coming on today, especially taking time away from your family visit. I really appreciate it. Where can people find you, your business, or your socials if you'd like to share?
I don't do a lot of social media. So I do have a website, and it is onthebeamcoaching.com. And I think I have an Instagram that's also on the beam.
Okay. I have to follow. I don't think I'm following.
Yeah. Yes, that's about it.
Okay.
And I have a LinkedIn page for On the Beam.
Okay. I want to thank my Joy listeners for tuning in today. I hope this gave some insight on life for you, whether you're wanting to start your own business venture or wanting to get a life coach. I believe our mental and physical health are so important. That's why from time to time I will do episodes on health and wellness. If you found this helpful or interesting, please share the show with a family or friend. Heck, share it with everyone. If you can, also subscribe to my YouTube page at youtube.com/Gina-Rickner00. You can also find my podcast on all the podcast platforms. Please follow and leave a 5-star review. As always, go out and find the joy today. Bye, friends.